Hey, shalom YouTube, happy Passover. Right now we are in the middle of Unleavened Bread, the week of Unleavened Bread. And as I was sitting here, I was just praying and doing some reflection and introspection. The Lord reminded me of a realization that I recently had a couple months ago, and I wanted to share it with you guys. It was about a couple of months ago when I had this realization. I had recently posted something on Facebook. Some Messianics actually, were promoting a particular false doctrine, and I had made this post calling them out, and it was a very abrasive and direct rebuke. Around that time, I got called out and I got rebuked for my behavior by some people that I look up to as mentors and those who are spiritually mature, those who I look up to and that speak into my life. And they said, "Well, David, you have to be more loving and gentle in your approach." And they agreed with me. They agreed with everything I said. They said, "Yes, your views are right. Yes, sometimes it's necessary and appropriate to call out false doctrine like this, but the way that you went about it was not very loving. You need to be more gentle, and that way you'll be more effective when you do share." And I struggled with that, to be honest, because I'm like, well, these people, they're not going to get it. It needs to be called out, and people need to realize how utterly wacky their opinions and views are sometimes. So as I was thinking about that, when I had this realization, the Lord reminded me of who I was when I first started keeping the Torah, when I came into this Messianic movement, if you will, that believes in keeping the Sabbath. We believe in keeping the feast days and dietary instructions and those things. And I remember how I was when I started into this. I was pretty, zealous, you could say. I was pretty prideful. I felt like I had this new, amazing truth, and that all of my Christian friends that didn't yet realize this truth, they were deceived by false doctrine. And, I felt pretty arrogant, and I felt like I was smarter than everyone else, and I was pretty rude and obnoxious in how I shared what I believed. Well, thankfully, by the grace of God, I grew out of that. I did mature, and I became, I would like to think that I became a lot more thoughtful and balanced in my approach. And in fact, I came to discover that all of my Christian friends who did not agree with me on this topic, that actually they weren't wrong about everything, that they had a lot of really good arguments, a lot of good reasons for why they believe what they believe, especially concerning other views and things like that. We still disagree on some things. And furthermore, I realized that this Messianic movement that I became part of, that we didn't have it all together. That, hey, all of these beliefs and this movement that I put so much of my energy into, this group of people, that we do not have all the answers, that we have a lot of things wrong too. None of us have arrived. And in fact, there are some serious false doctrines in the Messianic movement. And so I felt embarrassed by how I treated my Christian friends and family because of some of the false things that I think they believe. And so as a result of that, as I started coming to terms with this and understanding this, I began to forcefully call out those on my own side, quote unquote, if you will. I started calling out and rebuking the Messianics who were pushing false doctrine. And all the while I'm thinking I'm becoming more balanced. And I even stopped really associating with like the Hebrew roots movement segment of the Messianic movement. And I was under the illusion, I guess you could say, that I've become more balanced and more objective. Well, even though I think I have become more balanced and more objective in my views, even though I have come to realize that the Messianic movement that I consider myself to still be part of doesn't have it all together, and that the Christians who disagree with me on certain doctrines, that they're right about a lot of things. Even though I've come to understand that, I am quite arrogant still, that I am quite judgmental still. And even though I'm no longer blasting Christians for the dumb things they believe, I've shifted the audience, and I've just have a new outlet. I have a new audience to direct all of my pride and arrogance to. The fringe part of the Messianic movement that believes wacky things. So instead of being arrogant towards those deceived Christmas celebrating Christians, I instead focus my attention on those silly, deceived Hebrew roots folks who, need to take off their everything is pagan glasses, need to understand, some of the things that they believe are just unbiblical and whatever. And I began seeing myself, when I started understanding this, I began kind of seeing myself as part of this elite group that now I have arrived. I used to think this when I first became a Messianic. Now I've arrived. Now I have all the truth. I come to understand that Messianics don't have all the truth, that Christians have a lot of truth. Christians, non-Messianic Christians, for lack of a better term, that they have a lot of truth. And now I've arrived because I'm at this place where I can judge Messianics, because I'm objective and balanced now. And a lot of that is actually pride, because believing that now that I've arrived and thus I'm able to ridicule all of these idiots who don't know any better, who are simply trying to honor God to the best of their understanding. And yes, I know there's still a lot of arrogant jerks in every walk of life, in every denomination, in every movement. There are arrogant jerks like me who don't know people's hearts, and they judge people. But we need to be better than that. Yeshua says that we are not to judge people's hearts, that we are to not judge by mere appearances, but we are to judge with right judgment. And so, ironically, like I said, I landed right back in the same place I was years ago, judging and mocking and being forceful and prideful towards genuine believers who truly loved God and really wanted to honor Him to the best of their understanding. Only now, it's a different enemy. So I'm still the same old David Wilber. I'm still the same old arrogant, prideful person, but rather than Christians who don't keep the Sabbath being my enemy, it's Messianics who believe these other, things that I find objectionable. Now they're my enemy. And even worse, my arrogance was hidden under a guise of objectivity and balance, which made it much harder to detect. So the truth that I had to come to terms with was that my heart, my arrogant, prideful heart, still enjoys thinking that I'm better than people. I still very much enjoy thinking that I'm smarter than people and better than them. And I'm not. I'm only where I am now because of the grace of God, because He's brought me here, because He's taught me these things. And I don't want to be arrogant anymore. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I'm obviously not against exposing error. I think, like I said earlier, I think it's important and necessary to expose error and to point it out. But my heart in doing that was not one of genuine concern for edification of the body, for helping people. It wasn't done in gentleness and love to help people. It was done in a way to make myself look smarter than everyone. And I have to be honest, for a while I was getting pretty frustrated and bitter, all the while thinking that I'm fine, when actually my heart was swelling up with pride and arrogance. And that's something that maybe we should think about during this week of Unleavened Bread. That pride and arrogance, it's very sneaky. Just like as we search for the leaven, that we try to avoid leaven this week, and we come to find out that it's in everything. Leaven is in everything, everything delicious. You know, it's virtually impossible to try to, like, especially if you go out to eat or something, trying to order some unleavened food. It's very sneaky, it's in everything, and you have to be on guard. And sometimes this pride that we have in our lives, it's very sneaky. It was sneaky for me. I wasn't able to detect it. And all the while I was thinking that I was fine, when in reality I wasn't. And anyway, I just wanted to share that with you guys, that maybe, you know, as you observe this week of Unleavened Bread, ask the Father, like, do some self-reflection and really think, like, are you arrogant? Is there some hidden self-righteousness and pride in your heart that you aren't even aware of, thinking that you're fine? Anyway, yeah, so what do you guys think? Like, what are some of the things that the Lord is teaching you during this feast day? What are the areas in your life that the Lord has revealed to you that you need to get rid of? Like, we need to get rid of the leaven from our homes. What areas in your life have been revealed to you, the pride in your life, the arrogance in your life, the self-righteousness in your life, the unforgiveness in your life? Leave a comment below, and let's edify and encourage one another, that we're all in this together. We're all on a journey. None of us have arrived yet. So I think that, you know, that would be a good thing for us to do, to encourage one another. All right, take care, guys. Shalom.